Hello, Free to Be. I wanted to read you two stories today. I've decided to just let the video be backwards and reversed because I think it's more important to be able to see the pictures than to read the words. So I wanted to read you first. This book is called Daniel Finds a Poem. It's by Micha Archer, who is a woman who I grew up going to her house. She was friends with my mom, and her kids and I were friends. And she would draw pictures for me and do all sorts of art. And then she wrote a book, and the book has the same name in it as the kid that I got. So it's pretty magical all around. And I want you to think about some of the things in this book. This is called Daniel Finds a Poem. And I want you to think about what poetry is to you. There's my Daniel. Beep, beep, beep. Hi, Daniel.
My name's not Daniel.
I'm sorry, there's my Danny.
Daniel used to be my name.
Oh, he did his disappearing act. So this is called Daniel Finds a Poem by Micha Archer.
I already said that.
Okay, and she just is such a good illustrator. I really, really love her artwork. Daniel knows all the rocks, trees, and animals in the park. Look at that beautiful illustration. On Monday morning, Daniel sees something new on the park gate. A sign reads, "Poetry in the Park, Sunday at 6 o'clock." And then there's people reading. Oh, there's a little hand puppet down here. Danny wrote you guys a story that we're going to read later if he finishes illustrating it, but instead he's farting around over here. He did get to work. What is poetry? Daniel says. What is poetry?
Yeah, which one should I go on? This one. No, wait.
Look at all those beautiful things at the park and the beautiful colors. He looks up in surprise when he hears a spider say, "To me, poetry is when morning dew glistens." Have you ever seen a spider web glistening in the morning dew? It is really, really magical, and you can see each thread. It's really pretty. Spiders work really hard on their webs. Here he is climbing a tree. There's a squirrel. On Tuesday, Daniel climbs the old oak tree. He sees Squirrel. "Squirrel, do you know what poetry is?" Hey, Danny, can you read in your head? Thanks, babe. He's running with Squirrel. Looks like there's fall leaves. Sounds like really a lot of fun. "Poetry is when crisp leaves crunch," Squirrel tells him. What is that? Let's find out. On Wednesday, Daniel calls into Chipmunk's hole. "Chipmunk, can you tell me what poetry is?" Oh, those were rocks. And he looks in. "Chipmunk, can you tell me what poetry is?" Look at that cute little chippy. I've noticed we have some chipmunks, but we have so many squirrels at my house right now. Black squirrels and gray squirrels. And they are so noisy. They're finding their nuts. They're chomping away. Okay, now this one is him talking to Chipmunk. There's Daniel. And he says, "Poetry, poetry is a home with many windows in an old stone wall." He's resting his fingers into the pond and he's relaxed. I really love to look in ponds and lay down and just sit and see what I can find because there's so many things to see in ponds and lakes.
You do?
I do. Remember when we laid on the bridge and looked down into the water?
Yeah.
That's one of my things. If you pull on that, that will fall. On Thursday, Daniel makes a boat with a leaf for a sail and watches the wind carry it across the pond. He calls quietly to Frog. Excuse me, Frog, what is poetry? Look at his little bare feet. I love bare feet. I see a fish. I wonder if the fish knows what poetry is. Poetry, says Frog, is a cool pond to dive into. Ooh, a dragonfly and some cattails and a turtle. Daniel knows how to keep his body still so nature and animals aren't scared and come up to him. That's a pretty special skill. On Friday, Daniel parts the cattails and finds Turtle. Hello, Turtle. I have a question. Do you know what poetry is? I think poetry is sun-warmed sand, says Turtle. He's discovered something smaller. Looks like a cricket. Right under the slide. On Saturday afternoon, Daniel finds cricket in the shade of the slide. Yep, tiny cricket. He's keeping his body nice and still, giving the cricket space and just using his eyes. What a good friend to animals and bugs Daniel is.
Hey, Chris,
When...
Hey, can I just mention something?
Yeah.
First of all, animals can't talk. Second of all...
It's true animals can't talk, but he's using his imagination. Maybe he's imagining what they think the animals will say. Do you use your imagination?
Kind of. And, oh, yeah. And also, of course he's sitting still. He's in a book. He's a book painting.
Thank you for your input, Danny.
Of course. What?
When the shadows are long, Cricket fills the air with music. Is this poetry to you, Cricket? I love the sound of crickets. Also the sound of peepers and bullfrogs. That to me is poetry and music and magic. Let's see. Singing at twilight when the day is done. Indeed it is, Daniel. Oh, I love the shades of blue for the night. I can see Daniel's silhouette in the window. And an owl. Let's see what this says. What do you think owl thinks poetry is? That night, moonlight fills Daniel's room. He hears a
What's
whoo.
a silhouette?
Leaning from his window, he calls to Owl. Owl, what is poetry?
Wait, what's a silhouette?
A silhouette, so you only see the outline of somebody in black. So it's like, not like a shadow, but when the light is shining, you just see the outline of them. Ooh, look at Owl with his wings spread across with the city behind him. Wow. Okay. Ooh, that moon is beautiful. Oh, poetry. Poetry is bright stars in the branches, moonlight on the grass, and silent wings to take me wherever I go. Good night, dear Daniel, she whispers, and flies off into the night. And Miles, if you're wondering, that bang is the construction site next door. They have a big dump truck that they're dumping things, and that was the big back of the dump truck. Boom, closing. I know you like to know what all the noises are, my love. Okay, so now Daniel's, look at, he's got little animals just like we have in his window. He likes to set them up on the windowsill. Let's see, he's in his bed. On Sunday, the sun wakes Daniel up. He is happy when he remembers it is Sunday. Today is poetry in the park, said Daniel, and I have a poem.
Ooh, I love this part.
So these are silhouettes. So they just show you the outline of the people in black. And that's their silhouette. If you bump the table, the phone bumps, okay? Thank you. These are the words that I'm going to read. This is his poem. Morning dew glistens, crisp leaves crunch. There's a home with many windows in the old stone wall. Cool pools to dive into. Sun-warmed sand to lie in. singing at twilight when the day is done. Bright stars in the branches, moonlight on the grass, and silent wings to take me wherever I go. Wow. He took all of the nature, the things he saw or that the animals told him, and made them into a poem. Ooh, this is such a gorgeous sunset and illustration. Ooh. I really, really, really love this. Okay.
The trees look like lettuce.
Oh, I like your imagination. On the way home, Daniel stops to watch the sunset sky reflecting in the pond. That looks like poetry to me. To me too, says Dragonfly. I want you to look out at the world today and find some poetry and some magic out there, because it's everywhere around us. And just thanks to Misha for this beautiful book. And I love y'all.